What is going on, everybody? Is anybody else hearing this? Gint? No? No? Oh, well, then the intro just completely.
We're off to a great start here.
What is happening? Dude, I am hearing the show delayed in my headphones after I'm like, you just said we're off to a great start here.
You're not. Are you on Twitter on like the stream?
No. No. There's not. This is the only thing on my laptop, on my screen right now. I can't do this. Hold on. You're going to have to hold tight. I have to come back in.
We're off to a wonderful start here on the Phaithful Phanatics show. My return after 2 weeks, and here we go. Dylan is having technical difficulties, so we're gonna have to hold tight here. What a wonderful, wonderful beginning out of your host here.
We're good? Talk to me.
You good?
All right. Oh, dude, I don't know what just happened.
That's never a dull moment here.
The video was playing while the intro was going on, and then I would hear like something that happened 2 seconds ago happen, and then you would speak and I would start to talk, and then I would hear you speak again into the show. So let's try this just one more time.
Holding gets around in front. And Philadelphia has it.
Wow, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Phaithful Phanatics show live here on DSM Media's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter channel. If you're new to the channel, head on over to @DSM_media on Twitter. Hit that follow button. We greatly appreciate it. And then while you're on the page, check out the link tree in our bio to take you to every social media platform we are available on. If you guys want to be interactive throughout today's show, hit up the YouTube channel. That's the best place to get your comments pulled up on the screen. Join the conversation and also hit that subscribe button. I am one half of your host, Dylan Davis. You can find me on Twitter @DylanJD98. To my right, my faithful co-host, Matt McGinty. Find him on Twitter as well, @Matt_McGinty. What is going on, Gint?
Nothing, man. Semi back to reality in the Philadelphia sports world after what was probably the highest of highs for a little bit there.
Highest of highs, man. Followed by the lowest of lows on Saturday.
And here we are, man. And
here we are. And you, I'm not a big Union guy. I'm not going to pretend to be one. I did watch the game before the Phillies came on Saturday night. But like it was the most Philadelphia thing to happen.
Yeah, it was very
championships within the span of 8 hours. No other city has lost a championship on the same day before. So, just cracking into the history books a little bit more over here. But that's what we're going to start with, man. Let's wrap up this Philadelphia Phillies 2022 season because I feel like there's a lot to get into. There's the World Series as a whole, Game 6, Rob Thompson. There's a lot of conversation around that, some offseason stuff, and just kind of the whole idea of what this season was, what this run was. Was it a success? Do they need to kind of reconstruct the team going forward? A lot of different stuff. So how are you handling that the season's over? And then also kind of what were your thoughts on whether this was a positive or not?
So obviously, like, the loss sucks. No one's going to sit here and be like, oh, like,
yeah, we're just happy to be here.
Yeah, like, we're happy that, like, they lost 4-2. There was moments where it really looked like this team could have won the whole thing. So that's where it's like, it's a different story. They come out and get swept. And you look at it,
you're not in the same class.
The Astros were that much better, but it's just a fact of the matter that they weren't. Like, it didn't seem like the Phillies were too outclassed. Now, don't get me wrong. The Astros looked like the better team throughout the series. Right. There's a no-hitter involved. They steal Game 1 miraculously after being down 5-0. Like, there's signs that the Astros were the better team this year.
For sure.
So that's where it's like you kind of get hit with the realization. But there was moments where the Phillies could have won this series. And I'm sure you saw it. But did you see Paul Hembekiis' rant about obviously
Rob Thompson
pulling
Hembo, yeah. Yeah,
So, like,
not a fan. I was talking about it. Not a
yeah,
fan
if
of
you look at,
Doppler
like,
at
a
the
couple of
moment.
moments like that, obviously, the bomb in game 6 that gets out of the yard ultimately kinda won the Astros
For
the game, like,
sure.
there's just a couple things that were like, man, like, if JT hits that ball off the wall in game 5, Harper coming to the plate with a man on second to tie the game, like,
Yeah.
just so many things, like, dude, Schwarber's bomb that went foul, then the next pitch, he takes it 3 feet
I
short of
forgot
the
about that.
fence, like,
Edmundo Sosa hitting one that would
dude,
have been a moonshot if it's 10 feet further to the left in that ballpark.
like,
There was a
just
lot
so
of
many
different
things that
things.
makes right there, but, like, this was a positive. All in all,
For
this was a
sure.
positive. It's not, like, for anyone to sit here and say it's not, they're lying to themselves and they're just unrealistic. Like, me and you sat on this show with, like, 2 weeks left in the regular season, and we were like, "Who knows what's gonna happen with the
Yeah.
Phillies?" Like, let's just get there. And, like, they got there. There being
Yeah.
the World Series, not there as in, like, it was more than enough for
Well,
me to
why do you
call
think
it.
I come on here for the last 2, 3 years with you and we just beg, man, just get to the dance. Anything can happen when you're there. And you saw that firsthand here. And I think to your point, they weren't outclassed. I said heading into the series, my heart was picking Phillies. I wasn't going to go away from that. And I knew they had definitely more than a puncher's chance to beat the Astros, but it just felt like Goliath, dude. And then the disappointing thing about facing a team like the Astros that is super loaded in their starting staff and in the bullpen is like, all right, great. Like they're wearing Framber down in game 6. Framber's got 75 pitches through 5 innings, right? Well, who cares? We get to face the bullpen. Like, there was no plus to getting a starter out of the game early because their bullpen was the most dominant bullpen the MLB postseason has ever seen before, literally and statistically. But I think to your point, the problem was you had a 2-1 series lead on a night in which you hit 5 bombs in a 7-0 rout. Like, that's when it felt like, holy shit, they're going to do this. And then it kind of just, you got it handed to you the next game with the combined no-hitter. Then you had the Chas McCormick catch in game 5. And then you start out game 6 with the Sosa shot. And it's like, you could have just picked up on all these little tidbits, all these little hints throughout the last 3 games as to why. But the bottom line is the Phillies struck out a record number of times. They struck out 72 times in the World Series. It's never another reason they're in history books, and all for the wrong reasons, right? Their hitters, specifically 1 through 3, and then you have Nick Castellanos, not 1 through 3, excuse me. Schwarber was great. I'm talking about JT, Reese, and Castellanos specifically. Were a problem. The whole offense, but specifically them, were a problem. Bryson Stott, I don't believe, recorded a hit the entire World Series. But I want to talk about Rob Thompson for a second. I want to talk about game 6, but I need to preface what I'm about to say with this. Guys, it's okay to critique and put blame on Rob Thompson right now while also acknowledging that you still believe in him going forward and acknowledging all that he did to get them to this point, to make the playoffs, to continue to win series as underdogs, to win games in the World Series. Like that's all positives behind Rob Thompson, but it's still okay to critique him. So everyone looks at the Zach Wheeler poll, right? 70 pitches. And in the moment, I was fine with it, to be honest, in the moment, because I was just looking big picture, and I was looking first and third, 1 out. He just hit a guy. Like, I'm not taking into detail that Maldonado's hugging the plate and that he didn't try to avoid it. I'm just looking first and third, 1 out. You got to get out of this inning when you have the lead. I'll throw this question to you. Could you not have brought Ranger in that situation if you were going to poll?
That was a thing. I think that's another thing that prefaces.
It's the lefty on lefty that you wanted, obviously.
Exactly. You pulled him to begin with. And all I heard before the game was Ranger was available, who,
if needed,
survive. The Astros didn't hit well. And
who you praised his heartbeat and his calmness to close out the NLCS. Like, if there's a moment for Ranger to come in,
it was there.
Probably that one, especially when Alvarado got hit a little bit the outing before, right? Yeah. Like, he was phenomenal, dude, in the postseason. The whole bullpen was. But you saw the last 2 outings or so from him in the bullpen where it got a little shaky and he gave up runs. And I get the first one was the Nola start, which you can't really put on him. He comes in with bases loaded, nobody out.
Yeah.
Dude's going to give up runs, but nonetheless, hit the first batter and then it kind of spun out of control from there. But then this one, like that. So that was my first point. A, you don't pull Zach Wheeler there. B, if you want the lefty on lefty and you're telling me it's just survive to the next day, just get me to game 7, why would you not go with Ranger? Why would you bring in Jose Alvarado in that spot? Although how great he's been. My other thing, and I'm going to nitpick this show, man, because the season's over and I really don't care what people say. I'll catch some backlash for this. JT and Zach Wheeler. I'm upset about the pitch selection on Martin Maldonado. I'm going to come out and say it. No one's talked about it. I don't care. I get it. Dude dropped his elbow right into it. He's crowding the plate. They showed you the difference from that stance to the stance previous. I get all that. You are Zach Wheeler. This is the 9-hole hitter for the Houston Astros who hasn't done anything all series and all postseason long. You see where he's located in the box, and you still try to run a 2-seamer up and in on. He's not touching you, bro. Beat him out over the middle of the plate. Run 98 up, out over the middle of the plate. Run that slider down and away. Deuce, he's not touching you, okay? And if he gets lucky and singles, guess what? He's on first base regardless. I'm not flirting with disaster in that situation and saying, I see where this dude is, and I'm going to run 97 up at him. So I don't care. I'll nitpick at that. I will. So the Zach Wheeler thing is what everyone points to with Rob Thompson. The lineup is the more frustrating part with me. Right? Like, I get, I'm not talking about major changes because you and I had that conversation before. Like, remember the NLDS when they were winning games and people were like, Schwarber bats 4th, Hoskins bats 7th, like all that crazy shit. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm just talking about maybe like Nick Castellanos, not like maybe sliding Boehm up to 5.
I would have
get Reese out of the 2-hole.
I think I would have batted Bryce first.
I was talking to Hembo. And Hembo wanted Bryce to bat 2nd. Now, we knew that wasn't ever going to happen, but I would have liked to just have moved them up at all, right? But my point, my beef being with Rob Thompson on the lineup is, like, before the series started, he polled the team, basically. He asked, is this the lineup you guys want? And they all had the confidence in Nick batting behind Bryce for protection, and I admire that. I get it, having their backs and living and dying by your guys. But in the same breath, you start Sosa and Vierling just because of a pitching matchup. That's not that's game plan. That's analytics, right? So you're not living and dying by them. And then you're going to tell me before the game starts, like, so what are people going to say? Oh, well, that's desperate. You're goddamn right, it's desperate. It's win or die here. And if you're going to tell me that you're so desperate that your game 7 starter could possibly pitch in game 6 just to get you to 7, I would expect you to be just as desperate to tweak the lineup in your favor a little bit. So that was the thing that just because it wasn't half a game again. It wasn't this went on they scored 3 runs in the final like 35 innings of the World Series.
My thing is like, dude, all right, let's say even if you put Bryce in the 2-hole, so what, JT bats 3rd still, and Reese hits 4th? Yeah. The 3-4-5 was a combined 0 for 25 at that point. I definitely would have slid Boehm up. I thought he would definitely pull that string. And I get it. You go to what your guys say they feel comfortable in. But when your guys get no hit, it's really not about their comfortability anymore.
Yeah.
Guys, you get paid to make those decisions. Like you
100%, because it's like, guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. Your word means nothing to me anymore.
Yeah, maybe
I stuck with what you wanted, and you got no hit at home.
You tried your way, now it's time to try mine.
Yeah, for sure. But I just think, just wrapping up Game 6, and first of all, it was just such a nut punch. The fact, like, Kyle Schwarber cranks one into the night in the top of the 6th, and everybody's freaking out in the area. And but isn't it so ironic that it's a conversation you and I have had throughout the regular season about this team for 3 years now, of just like, your offense is struggling, your pitcher's battling, They finally pull through and get you a lead, and the very next inning, you give the runs back, and that's how their season ended. Now, one run was never ultimately going to be enough. I get it, but you had the lead for all of 35 seconds, and then boom, hit batter, fielder's choice, single up the middle. And by the way, where the hell did this Pena kid come from? I mean, my God, the kid's gross. And then the Alvarez move that like I know like Kyle Schwarber's home run was like ridiculous in San Diego. That was the farthest hit ball I've ever seen in my life.
How far did it go?
I don't think it went as far as what Schwarber's did, but Schwarber pulled, dude, that is straight. I think the announcer said like the ball's not supposed to get over that wall. Yeah. Like that wall's high for like, and my God, he landed up there. But not trying to give too much kudos to
Alvarez, who is known for hitting fast left-handed pitchers. You threw the epitome.
And by the way, what is that location, Jose?
Dude. Bro, Jose
as soon as I saw the ball on a line, I wanted to close my eyes. Like
Jose Alvarado had a lot of moments in this postseason.
Oh, big moments.
But hitting the batter with the bases loaded when he came in. And
specifically for the lefty on lefty matchup.
And he plucks him and then lets up a bomb in game 6.
Yeah. Same guy.
Yeah. That will go
so
down.
That was good. I mean, it's the same thing as Rhys, right? Like Rhys Hoskins had a bunch of ridiculous moments in this run, a bunch of big time home runs and celebrations and bat flips and energy. I get all of it. The bottom line is Rhys Hoskins cost you a game and he was god awful from the plate in the World Series. So both can be true. Like, yes, we would not have been to that point without them in the run, but both came back to hurt us at the end of the season.
Do you think a lot has to do with it that the Phillies had to grind out like the last 3 weeks of the season and guys had to play a lot more games than not expected would be the term, but guys had to play. Like JT didn't have off days down the stretch. He had a couple off days down the stretch people disagreed with too. So think about that. Right. People wanted him to play more games, and he looked. Dude,
JT caught the most innings by any catcher by far. Nola threw the most innings by any pitcher this year by far, or over the last 5 years by far.
They looked out of gas. Like, obviously, game 3, the long ball is ridiculous. Other than that, dude, this lineup.
Again, but not just the lineup. Like, take into account how like bad, but at the same time impressive this is, and why this all season is important. And they basically just got to Game 6 of the World Series throwing 3 guys, hit 3 starters. I get it. No Syndergaard made 2 appearances.
Bailey Falter stopped in for a third of an inning.
Stopped in for a coffee. Like, I get it. But they did it with 3 arms in the starting rotation. So that's like Houston just showed you how that works. They had 5 guys they could throw at you, and then their bullpen was lights out, right? I just think wrapping this whole thing up is this season and this run is anybody that takes it as a negative. And Phil and I talked about it, this one article that he brought to my attention last night on the morning show today. Like anyone that takes this opportunity to basically say that, 10 years from now, no one's going to look back on this run and give a damn. And that may very well be true. A decade from now, no one's going to remember them just winning the pennant and not winning it all. To anyone that says Rob Thompson is still underqualified, and it showed, which was in the article, that the Phillies choked away the World Series. Brother, I got news for you. Philadelphia Phillies were underdogs for every single series this postseason run. They were never supposed to be here. And that's not because they weren't uber talented. No, we talked about that a lot. They were a team that didn't play up to expectation, but still had a lot of talent on the roster. Again, the problem is he's like, oh, and they were 14 games out of first place. They only won 87 games. Hey, bud, I don't know. They didn't have the MVP for 2 months. They had a managerial change 50 games in. They missed their second baseman for 2 months. They missed their right fielder and left fielder for times. They missed 3 starters and bullpen pieces throughout were they supposed to win 95 games with all this? I'm confused. So at the end of the day, while we're still licking our wounds right now, and this ultimately sucks, this season and this run was a complete and utter success. And I know how hard it is to get back there. And any Philly fan that's sitting here right now that's just like, well, they're going to get better in the offseason, so we'll be right. No, that's not the case. I hope so. And they'll have a chance to. but it's extremely difficult to get to that point. But it's a success, man. I think and the best part is it's year one of what you acquired last offseason. It was year one of the Schwarber and Castellanos signings, and you locked up JT, and Bryce is here for another decade, right? So the core is in place now, and now you have to go and fill spots around it.
Like, to say this wasn't a success, like, if you look back on it, the Phillies were 22 and 29 when they fired Joe Girardi.
Mm-hmm.
Didi Gregorius was your shortstop. Alec Boehm was up and down.
Yours Familia was your setup guy.
Like, the roster got overhauled, and it was just a bunch of guys that, again, like we talk about, Alec Boehm's like the biggest like name that comes to everyone's mind. Because again, he was in AAA last season. Like, to say this wasn't a success, again, you found your core. Your core is in place now. What they choose to do, like a lot of people, the timeline screaming to get rid of Rhys Hoskins, where you go and get a starter, like. This was an utter success. Like, this could have been where the pages turned. Like, the Phillies now can be a year in and year out for the next. I don't even want to put a number on it. Years where it's like, the Phillies are in the run to win the NL East every year, in a run to make a postseason run. Like, again, this year wasn't supposed to be the year, but it was. They made it to the World Series, regardless of how they got there. It happened.
Right, and they competed. Like, and like, that's like, they didn't just go through nobody, bro. Like, you had to go on the road and take 2 from the Cardinals who won the Central. You took it to the defending champs in your division who won 101 games that everyone keeps shoving in my face. You took it to the team that beat the Dodgers, who went all in for a World Series at the trade deadline. And then you went down in 6 in Houston.
Dude, they were 2 web gems away from taking this to 7
That is
games.
true. And
like,
you know what else no one talks about?
Unbelievable.
Not to just relive the pain over and over again, but the Trey Mancini comes in for the first time all series and just flashes leather at first base to take away a rope down the line from Kyle Schwarber. Like, the inning after Rhys Hoskins botches one at first base.
Bro, that ball, dude, Kyle Schwarber hit that 540 miles per hour.
And he just like popped off the bench. Like, he wasn't there for the whole game. Like, he just came in and flashed the leather, knocked the bang. You're out. Take a seat. Like, it was painful. The McCormick thing will probably live forever. Like, that was painful because they would have won that game. They would have won that game.
That's a bad play. Like, to try to go get that off the wall. Like, if that hits the wall, like, it's just
right. He's potentially scoring.
Yeah, like, that's a bad play.
And he makes it.
Instead makes the play I'll never forget.
But so anyway, you bring up the fact that it was step one, right? It was in the right direction and how this could be a building block. And that's exactly the kind of thing like Schwarber and Hoskins said and Castellanos, and that, you know, they got a taste of it. And you have this core in place, and it's great playoff experience for these guys. Obviously, the last time we saw Citizens Bank Park was like that was over a decade ago, the last time they made the World Series. So it's like now these players are going to crave that even more, crave that environment. Outside guys, free agents that we're going to get into in a second. You know, they were tuned in. You didn't see Philadelphia. You don't want to play with Brett. Like, so that plays a role into it. So I think it was all positive. Just the end result wasn't quite what we wanted. But I guess at the same time, like, yeah, sure, expectations change. You get there, and of course you have a chance to win it. But they were underdogs for a reason, man. Like, it would, like, we talked about that Eagles. Remember when the Eagles were underdogs as the 1 seed because they, you know, all that. No. This would have been the underdogs, like, story of sports in MLB history. Moving into this offseason, which opens up on Thursday. Now, obviously, I don't expect anything to just be like, you know, 1:30 Thursday afternoon, bang, big name off the board, but it at least allows the clock to start ticking. Free agency opens up. The new MLB year opens up. Again, I'm excited. I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop talking about it. Like, I know the run's over, so it's like, okay, now we can tune into the Sixers, and now we have the 8-0 Eagles, and it's like, yeah, that's true, but like, let's go get trade. Like, now I'm all in on the Phillies offseason at the moment. What are your thoughts on this offseason? They have about $75 million opening up on the books before going over to tax. And if John Middleton and Dave Dombrowski showed you anything last year, and throughout Bryce Harper's tenure here, it's they are willing to spend. And they got a taste of what it's like to be in that environment as well. They want to get back. They want to win. Dombrowski's here for a reason. So you would have to assume the Phillies aren't standing pat. The Phillies are going to be active this offseason. You got Trey Turner. Now, obviously, they declined the option on Gene Segura. Would likely tell you that Bryson Stott is heading over to second base. The shortstop market is massive. Massive. And when someone I get it, like you all have your wish list and you have 1 through 4, you rank them. Any 4 of them. Give me any 4 of them. You got Dansby Swanson, who's probably the least likely to come over here. But then you have Alexander Bogaerts. You have Trey Turner. You have Carlos Correa, all at the shortstop position. Carlos Rodon is a big name in the starting pitching market. Apparently, I saw a screenshot. His wife is just her Twitter feed is just full of likes.
Every Phillies tweet.
Philly
That's
stuff.
hilarious, dude.
So who knows
it's so
that
good
means.
that people who went to the extent to look at her likes to see
well,
that.
People were doing it with Castellanos. Remember with his mom and all.
That, yeah.
And then next thing you know, he's here. So what is kind of your wish list? What's your thought process heading into the season? Because if you're talking core pieces, here's what we're rolling with, right? In your starting rotation, you have Wheeler, Nola, Suarez. Falter will be back. To what extent they have him in their plans, you don't know. And then you have the likes of Andrew Painter and then Griff McGarry, who is supposed to come up this season at some point. We don't know if it'll be the start. In the bullpen, you're losing a lot outside of Alvarado, Sir Anthony. I think Bilotti's still there. Brogdon. I think Nick Nelson. So, the guys we don't really want to see, and then the 2 back-end guys are still there. And then position player-wise, you have your Harper, Castellanos, Schwarber, JT, Reese, Bohm, Stott, Marsh, Vierling. There's holes, Gint. What's your wish list to fix this team?
You kind of outlined it. I really think it's just a shortstop and a starting pitcher.
Sprinkle in some middle relief.
A wish list is what you gave me. And a wish list for me is a high-class starter, like a 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And a shortstop, and one of those 4 shortstops that you need is the wish list.
Yeah.
Do I think that happens now? I don't think we're that lucky.
No?
I really don't.
I would have to tell you that one of the 4 shortstops is coming here.
You think?
I would have to. I mean, it is literally the biggest hole. Now, if you're not bringing Gene back, which they decline the option, so unless they read the market, no one scoops up Gene. They're like, hey man, we'll bring you back on a little 1-2 year stint. I don't know. You would have to figure with that hole sitting there, knowing they have the money available, knowing they want to go all in for a World Series. I mean,
if they get Trey Turner,
don't talk to me.
I'm
being honest with you. If they get any of them, don't talk to me. But Trey Turner is number 1 on my list just because I think he does so much. Like he could come in and hit 1 through 3 for you. And I realistically would probably be listing him as our leadoff hitter. He's going to steal 35, 40 plus bags a year. He's great in the field. He hits for over 300. He has pop. Like the dude. And here's the best part. What do we talk about with Joel Embiid all the time and what Bryce has done in the past? When your stars hand select, hand pick someone, you abide by that, right? You go out and do whatever it takes to bring that guy in. Bryce Harper is already friends with Trey Turner from his time in Washington and said that Trey Turner is his favorite player to watch in the MLB by far. Their wives, I don't know if you know, dude, I'm digging deep here. Their wives are inseparable. They're just all. I saw screenshots from Instagram stories with old pictures saying "love you, miss you, can't wait to get together." They both have his wife and Trey Turner have a great relationship with Phillies hitting coach Kevin Long, who was in Washington with Bryce and them before. So the pieces are in.
You're convinced.
He wants to come back to the East Coast reportedly. And may I add, the Phillies have the best odds to land Trey Turner right now on all sports books in the offseason. They are 5-2 right now. The Giants sit in second at 5-1 or 6-1. Yeah. Yeah. And if it's not him, Correa might be an all-around better hitter. I'll take Correa. If it ain't him, Bogarts hits over 300 every year. I'll take Bogarts. If Dansby wants to slip through the cracks, I'll take Dansby on it. Doesn't matter. So one of the four has to come here. I would assume it's either going to be Turner or Bogarts. Something about Correa, I just can't envision him here. I don't know why. There's just something about it I can't see happening. And then Carlos Rodon, I know he's not a 1, but he's damn sure a high 3, low 2 type of starter. I know I believe there's elbow worries about him.
It's
I don't really care. I'll figure it out too. But like my whole point is everyone's like, oh, well, who can they get? Bro, they have $75 million open this year before they go over the threshold. And they told you, I'll go over. So
is that who you think it's going to be? You think it's going to be Trey Turner and Carlos Rodon?
Well,
like they have to sign a starting pitcher. There's no way they
for sure. Well, they have to sign it. Realistically, they have to bring in 2, unless.
But I'm saying a 1 through.
Oh
4.
yeah, I know.
Like a 1 through 4 guy.
What about like a Jose Quintana on like a 2-year deal? As your 3.
That's just like the type of move they're going to make, and it's
not
like
it doesn't really get you going, does it?
It's not, but it's like.
Yeah.
But if they sign Trey Turner and like that, okay, that's fine. Like.
And bullpen's obviously a necessity after all the years we've dealt with a mediocre bullpen. And like I said, you right now you're sitting with Sir Anthony and Alvarado, and then you got a bunch of me and yous down there. Andrew Bellotti, Nick Nelson, Connor Brogdon. I don't know if Sam Coonrod's still going to be on the team. Who the hell knows? I'm good with all they're going to be on the roster. That's fine.
Zach Eflin declined his contract.
Eflin opted out. I'm assuming he's gone because he's going to get starter type money. And I just don't foresee the Phillies trying to bring him back in that role with the injury history and all that. He's out, and then obviously they declined the Segura option, but I felt like I saw that one other person opted out as well, but I could be wrong.
And
Syndergaard's gone. Robertson, Hand, Knable.
You don't think they'll throw Syndergaard anything?
Possibly. It's not
I feel like
unrealistic.
he's probably like the same thing with Gene. It's like if nothing else lands.
Yeah. And I think that's also the benefit of having this experience, having this magical run is like guys may take a little bit less money to be a part of this, to be a part of a run, to be a part of a team, etc. So you never know. But yeah, we'll be talking about it for weeks to come, months to come, potentially. I don't like, when do you expect things to really open up, right? Because last year got so thrown off with the lockout, and obviously once they went into a lockout, like literally nothing could happen. So from what was that, late December, early January through March, there could be no talks of anything, no signings, no nothing.
Which is a bunch of baloney as well.
Yeah.
No
so
talk.
like you think about Nick Castellanos, by the time he signed here, bro, he had to meet the dudes in Clearwater.
Yeah.
Like they were already there. So my whole question is like, if you're a big name on the move, how early do you want to get signed? Because I mean, do pitchers and catchers report in like 140 days? You got like three and a half months.
It's so weird. Like that. Now that they made the World Series, it's like it feels like it's so close, as opposed to like
how quick it is.
They would make the playoffs, and it felt like a literal eternity,
lifetime. It's like the Phillies are back. So my whole point is like, if you're a guy like Trey Turner or someone, like, wouldn't you want to move and have the time to do that and get accustomed to a new home and a new location and a new organization?
Price.
Yeah, I mean, if Stott's still there, they can all room together with the kids and Kay or whatever her name is. But all right, dude, let's shift gears here. I know it's tough to not think Phillies, even though they're over.
Farewell.
Sayonara, Fightins. Sixers. That's where we'll go next. Okay. Big win against the Phoenix Suns last night. Obviously, James Harden, we haven't discussed it, but James Harden is out for at least a month. I'm going to say more. I just have a feeling that it's somehow a month and a half from now, we're still awaiting James Harden to come back. Harden out, and Embiid finally comes back from his illness. And I think last night was the first time. Now, obviously, with no more Phillies to go, people are more plugged in and more have more analysis on this team than as before. But it was a beautiful time for it to happen because it was their first full 4-quarter performance. It felt like they had a lead for 90% of the game. Phoenix went on their runs throughout the game. It would be 17, then it would be 9, and Philly would extend it right back. The minivan just balled out last night. 7-3, 70% from 3 for George Niang. Joel dropped, what did Joel drop? 33? Or did he exceed 33? I forget. But he was phenomenal, specifically down the stretch. What's your vibe on this team right now, dude? Just overall.
It's so weird because it's such a heel turn from what I felt coming into the year, to be honest.
Yeah, right? I was pumped.
And it's not like they're not as good as I thought. It's not like that. It's the guys I really was looking forward to seeing have been very underwhelming. Which I shouldn't say the guys. Montrezl Harrell has been so underwhelming.
Yeah, but it's like then once he gets a run to, I know they lost the game to the Knicks, but when Doc gave him responsibility offensively, he went to work a little bit.
Paul Reed has just been so good.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty good.
And I'm not, you know me.
Yeah.
I know you. We both weren't Paul Reed stans, to use the word.
No.
But it's just, everything seems so stagnant with this team right now. It just, I don't even know how to explain it, and I don't know how to fix it. And that's why I'm glad I'm not Doc Rivers. But last night looked more of the norm. I know Harden was out, but Embiid asserted dominance early. He took 15 free throws last night. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, dude. He didn't miss. I think he was 16 of 16.
Yeah. But Reed came in and the lead grew, which never happens in Joel Embiid's life. It's never happened ever, I feel like. And Doc only played 9 guys last night, I'm pretty sure. I don't think he went 10 deep.
No, I believe so, yeah.
And I know Harden's not playing, and Melton's starting.
And House.
I love
House is out as well.
And Daniel House. I love Anthony Melton.
Yep.
Anthony Melton has been awesome. I think we talked about it before, who's going to be the biggest signing, and he has been it by
And he hasn't even gotten it going offensively. He's not shooting well from deep yet. He's not, dude. He's just so you mentioned Paul Reed. Paul Reed is just so active, right on defensive end and on the glass and in train. That's what Melton is, dude. Melton it just feels like once a game you're keyed in for 3 deflections and 2 steals. It feels like. By the way, I know this is minuscule to what you're paying attention to. I watched him on about 3 rebounds late in the game when it was a 7-8 point game and every stop was crucial. I watched my man get up for a couple of boards, right? So he's just active as well. And that's what, you mentioned Joel, dominance. Joel was dominant defensively last night too, dude. And I really do kind of believe in some fashion that if this team figures it out defensively, which they were horrible, rotations were horrible, transition defense was horrible to start the year. If they figure that out with guys like Paul Reed and Embiid's locked in defensively and Melton, then I think that's how they kind of get things going. And you saw the other night, I saw they flashed the score up at one point. The Sixers were winning the transition point battle 14-2. That's that never happens, right? So I think it starts defensively.
I agree, and I think that's what Reed's really bringing. He also makes them super more mobile, like you kind of mentioned there. And I think that was a big point for why he got minutes last night. He was the first sub off the bench last night, and the Sixers have been.
Well, also Joel was like, "Yo, go get me."
And the Sixers have been known against Chris Paul to get lit up on the drop coverage, and they didn't do that with Paul Reed, which I thought was. I was like, "Oh my God, Doc! Whoa, was that an adjustment?"
Devin Booker also didn't score a point in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's another thing. And then, actually, I'll keep it positive. I was going to jump negative, but I'll keep it positive because I'm a changed man in the Philly sports world.
There you go.
Obviously, George Niang, 7 for 10 from 3 last night.
Yeah.
It just can't be 7 threes one game, 2 for 7 the next, or 2 for 10 the next game. But he was awesome. He brought everything that when the Sixers signed him last year, what we all thought George Niang would bring. So I thought that was a super good plus. Doc, I gave Doc his flowers already. Maxey struggled in general last night, scoring the ball.
Struggled the last 2 games.
He still had like 11, 6, and 5. Yeah, he was on a tear at the beginning of the year. That wasn't gonna keep up. And now with Harden being out of the lineup, he's gonna see a ton of attention. He's gonna see a ton of attention. So how he adjusts is another thing. But to kind of get to negatives, even though I just said I was gonna be positive. One, Matisse Thybulle. Dude, you can't just be the same player every year. Like, his game doesn't change. He has been the same NBA basketball player since the second.
Since he's come in the league.
Dude, like, what does this guy work on? Does he
work
on anything? And I hate to do this because it's like, who's Matt McGinty to tell Matisse Thybulle how to play basketball? But dude, he had a wide open 3 at the beginning of the third quarter from top of the key, and he just stared at the rim. And I was like, dude, if you can't come in and shoot the ball, it's time.
Bad.
It's time.
You know what's horrifying too? Have you ever? I mean, I know you have. I'm asking kind of a rhetorical question here. You seen him in the open court with the ball?
Dude, deer in headlights. Like,
it's a nightmare. Again, I've watched this man dribble the ball off his own knee out of bounds with no one in sight. He is ridiculously bad with the ball in his hands and putting the ball on the floor.
I'll say it. If you're going to play 9 guys and Daniel House out of the lineup and Harden's out, I'd rather see Ferk. I really would. And you know that pains me to say that.
Yeah. No, dude, I mean, at this point, I really can't disagree because
I get the Tucker or the Booker, Chris Paul thing, like Matisse, you throw it at him, but so that's a different story maybe because of this backcourt. But dude, he's brutal, Dylan. Dylan, he's brutal.
Yeah. Oh, you're preaching to the choir here, brother. Like, remember when people wouldn't trade him? Remember when, like, I wish he was vaccinated.
Would have been the original Harden deal.
Yeah. I wish he would have been vaccinated at that point because he would have been gone instead of Seth Curry potentially. And then his team would look a lot better at the moment. I agree with you. I'll go negative for half a second too, and it's not a negative off of last night, but George Niang, it's like you talked about the consistency, and no, consistency doesn't mean 70% and 21 points, obviously, but consistency you would hope for, 2 of 4, 2 of 5 type of night from George Niang. If he's hot, 3 of 6, 3 of 7, something like that. But again, he's another frustrating piece in terms of I love the personality and I love the person more than I do like Ferk. Like Ferk just annoys the hell out of me. I don't know why. And then his bad play emphasizes that. Niang, I like the personality. I like the dog in him and everything like that. Again, outside of knocking down 3-pointers, my man is incredibly bad at a lot of other things on the basketball floor. He can't put the ball on the floor. He obviously is too unathletic to get through traffic and finish at the rim. We all know that. And when he does, it looks horrifying. He's kind of a turnover machine. He can't get he can't get what's the word I'm looking for? Not an outlet, but he can't get the ball to Joel on the block. The amount of entry pass. Thank you. He cannot get an entry pass down the block to Joel. It's deflected or turned over every time. And defensively, my dude has bricks attached to his ankles.
So immobile.
Yeah.
And it didn't really stick out that much last year.
And pretty careless with the ball.
The whole team was so immobile last year, so it didn't stick out. Now that they're athletic and guys are moving, it's like, dude, your feet are stuck in cement. Yeah.
You know what annoys me about Niang too? Obviously not last time. I'm not talking about that. But so when he's making them and the team's winning, obviously I love it. But you're a betting man. I'm sure you've played same game parlays on the Sixers before, as do I. And have you ever had you need one more 3 from somebody, but when George Niang's on the floor and he touches the ball, your guy ain't seeing the ball. And it's the most frustrating. Again, he is not shy, bro. So when it's 7 for 10, it's all cool. It's all fun, right? My dude is not shy in any moment. And it's he'll have a dude crashing on him. It's he just hits one pass and I need a maxi 3. Man, just hit him with a skip. Just get it to him. Nah, that ball's going up.
He's never seen a shot he didn't like.
No, not at all. So thankfully last night, 70% of the time it went in, so it was great. But other nights it's a little worrisome. So I guess to wrap up the Sixers talk is like I feel bad for this team too in a way, man, because they're under scrutiny a lot. And not only do they have all the new pieces, Joel has already missed about 4 games to start the year, and now James is out for over a month and missed 2 games already. So like they don't have like this whole we have a full season. Well, now we don't. Hopefully you still have a lot of time when James returns to get things right, but you don't have that full season anymore to kind of get the chemistry and the offense all set up. So I guess my question to you is like, what do you do going forward? Like rotation wise, I guess, and kind of because dude, the schedule is brutal, man. You got in Atlanta, home versus Atlanta. You got Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Utah, who somehow is trying to tank but is winning games. Like the schedule's tough. So how do they stay afloat? And by the way, seeding at this point does not matter to you. I don't care. I don't
biggest
care.
thing is getting this team to gel. Seeding is not important. The Sixers are 5-6, and they stumbled out of the gates. Isn't even the right word. Nobody looked good in the beginning of the year besides Harden. The Knicks loss the other night was one of the most brutal losses I've seen as a Sixers fan. They went really unnoticed, obviously, because the Phillies are still in the playoffs, obviously. But, I mean, going forward, it's like you let Maxey run the show again, even though he struggled. Like, get Tobias in a good rhythm because
Which they did that last night.
Yeah, he shot 7 of 18. Wasn't a bad game at all. Put 20, scored 20 plus, which is good. And then it's just kind of shoring up this bench thing. It's shoring up this Thibault, Shake Milton, Daniel House, even maybe throw Ferk in the mix, and who's playing well at the right time. And because again, Matisse Thibault has not looked good. He looked really bad against the Knicks too, which was back-to-back games where he just did not look good. And then figuring out this Paul Reed thing. Like, is Paul Reed ready? Because he's looked good. But the thing with Paul Reed has never been if he could come in and give it. Like, we've always known he was that guy. It was like, can he sustain minutes in big games?
Yeah.
And I don't know how much that is. And the biggest thing with the Paul Reed thing is you'd love to see him with James Harden and see how the fit is. And you're not going to see that. So you're only going to see him with Maxey. But how he plays out of the pick and roll, obviously, they signed Montrezl Harrell to be a guy that can make plays out of the pick and roll, score the ball offensively. Can Paul Reed bring you that while he's bringing you this 2-2-2-2 that everyone loves that he gets? So it's I think you shore those things up, get other guys in rhythm, figure out what you're doing with PJ Tucker because 2 for 2 from the field every night is in 30 minutes of play is one of the most.
Right, not that we're asking for PJ to jack 9 shots.
I don't need you to shoot 10 times, but can you figure something out? On the basketball court. And then, dude, figure out how to guards in the NBA because last night they did a great job of it. But the other night, dude, Jalen Brunson, 23, Darjay Barrett, 22. Just figure things out. But, again, I'm not worried about the Sixers.
Yeah.
I might sound arrogant saying it, but Sixers are going to make the playoffs. It's not, it's not going to change.
Like I said, I think the main thing for me is getting it figured out defensively. And I know, again, when Harden comes back, that's going to be a key cog of a guy playing 35-plus minutes, 34-plus minutes a night that has to be implemented into those rotations and all. But figuring that out and then, just offensively, it's nothing to figure out, in terms of doc or rotation or minutes or anything. But just the 3-ball, dude. How many games we're 11 games into the season, and I would say 5 of them, the Sixers have shot horrifically bad from beyond the arc. Milwaukee, I don't even know if they got 6 attempts up, it felt like. New York on last Friday night, they were absolutely brutal from beyond the 3-point line. So, I guess my point is all the guys we brought in the offseason, are they 3-point snipers? No. But when you bring in a guy like PJ Tucker, who's supposed to knock down corner threes, and DeAnthony Melton shoots well from 3, and Daniel House Jr. shoots well from 3, and you already have Niang.
They were 37% plus.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm just picturing this free flowing offense with these guards and Joel that kick out, bang, 3, and I have yet to see it. So just kind of figuring out the 3-point snipers and what you want to do there is big going forward too, because at least 40% of the games so far, they've been really bad from beyond the arc. I was going to get into Eagles today, but I think I might wait. because we got a long week. Eagles do not play until Monday night against the Commanders. If I'll say anything, though, if I've learned anything about taking all of this Phillies talk and all the Sixers scrutiny with a grain of salt, it applies the same for the Eagles. The amount of tweets and the amount of people on national television that I still see complain about the Eagles schedule and level count. Like, I don't know how many times I delay this. Remember in the Phillies regular season when people were like, well, the Phillies haven't beaten anybody. They only beat the bad teams on their schedule. And I had to lay out time and time again their record against other playoff teams at the moment, how they won all those series, right? Same thing, like, guys, you do know the Eagles have more wins against teams over 500 than the Chiefs and the Bills do. But just because, like, the Chiefs and the Bills played head-to-head one time this year, they're like, oh, my God, like, the Eagles haven't played the Bills and the Chiefs. But whatever. I'll get into that later.
It's like the national public would rather the Eagles be 7-1 and got crushed by the Bills.
Yeah, sure. But it's like, oh, Josh Allen throws 2-3 interceptions and loses a game again. Like, could you imagine, just imagine, if Jalen Hurts lost to the Jets and put up the numbers that Josh Allen did, what would be raining down on Monday afternoon?
They would finally get national media coverage.
Yeah.
Dude, I kid you not, I'm at work and like we got TVs all around, obviously.
Yeah.
Today I was like, I'm gonna make a note of like what's all talked about. Like, obviously Tom Brady, the divorce, Josh Allen, UCL, like what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs are still really good.
Yeah.
The Jets beat the Bills. And then it's like for 30 seconds, the Eagles are 8-0. And then it's like quickly skip.
Right.
The Cowboys are 6-2.
Yeah. I'm sure they talked about LeBron and the Lakers.
Oh, yeah. That's in between.
Kyrie. Yeah.
Kyrie's crazy.
Yeah, they talk about it all, man. But anyway, that's going to wrap up this Tuesday edition of the Phaithful Phanatics show. Guys, check us out on Twitter at DSM_media. It's where you can find all of our content, all of our posts, and check out the link tree in our bio to take you to every social media platform we are currently available on. For myself, for Gint, have a great rest of your Tuesday.